Twihards are scary. For those of you who don't know, Twihards are the rabid fangirls and fanboys of the popular Twilight series by Stephenie Meyer. As a fangirl who was friends with a lot of other fanboys and fangirls, I can safely say that their obsession leaves the rest of us in the dust. But the scariest thing about them is that they idolize Twilight. The majority of these fans are fangirls, and they look up to Bella Swan, the protagonist of the series, as a role model. Proper role models for girls, unlike Bella Swan, are in short supply. The majority of female characters in popular culture discourage creativity and independence in girls at a time when we need them the most. These are failed queens, as infamous as Marie Antoinette. Even though not everyone here has two X chromosomes, everyone here has a relative who is female. This relative is looking up to characters such as Barbie and Bella Swan, opening themselves up to a host of mental disorders. I've been worried about proper role models for girls since I learned that my youngest sister, who is 10, enjoys Twilight. First, we'll discover how this problem came to be. Then we'll discuss how media enhances the effect. Finally, we'll attempt to solve the situation by offering up some new candidates for queenhood. A lot of people have heard the rumor that a real-life Barbie would be unable to hold up her head. According to NBC, the dimensions of a real-life Barbie would be about 6 feet tall, a 39-inch bust, 18-inch waist, and 33-inch hips. But Barbie's just a doll, though, right? Yes, but Barbie is a symptom of the disease integrated into the media. Promotion of being skinny, usually underweight. According to Enlightened Sexism by Susan Douglas, the amount of girls who worried excessively about their weight and looks rose between 2000 and 2006, as did their stress, depression, and suicide rates. And teenagers aren't the only ones affected by this. The Journal of Youth and Adolescence has stated, quote, "Girls aged 5 to 8 years of age are already living in an appearance culture in which both peers and the media influences body image and dieting awareness," end quote. In fact, they go on to say, by the time they turn 6, a large group of girls want to be thinner. 6 years old, less than half the age of 13, and they are already grappling with society's ideals. According to the American Society for Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, almost 43,000 children under 18 received cosmetic surgery in 2008. And the New York Times stated that last year, Americans aged 13 to 19 were injected with Botox almost 12,000 times. Some of the teenagers received multiple injections. What does Barbie have to do with any of this? It's been 50 years since her debut. She had to have gotten under the knife at some point in order to remain this, well, perfect. But the other queen who should have never inherited the throne would be Bella Swan, the aforementioned protagonist of Twilight. Her secret identity as an anti-feminist has been attacked like werewolves attacking vampires since New Moon, the second book in the series, where she declared, quote, "I thought briefly of cliches about how supposed to see your life flash before your eyes. I was so much luckier. I saw him and I had no will to fight. Why would I fight when I was so happy where I was?" End quote. I don't want my little sister to end up like Bella, but why should she in the first place? Why should girls believe what they read, what dolls they play with, or what they watch on TV? Because they don't know it's not real. In The Power of Comics, History, Form, and Culture by Randy Duncan and Matthew J. Smith, the authors state that the media serves the interests of a dominant group, which in America is white males. The groups of minorities and females are then designated as other, helping the principal group, quote, define itself through negation, end quote. These definitions become repeated and portrayed in the media as fact until nobody doubts its validity. This is why the media is so powerful, what harms anybody who does not know better. Comic books are a classic example of over-sexualization of female characters. Specifically, and perhaps most scarily, heroines. While most girls may not be able to tell you who Iris West Allen is, the wife of the second Flash, Barry Allen, most girls will be able to tell you who Starfire is. Starfire is one of the most popular female comic book characters, the Wonder Woman of this generation, largely due to her appearance on the wildly popular TV show Teen Titans. Traditionally depicted as a caring, friendly, and considerate alien, the comic book world was turned upside down when DC rebooted their comics 2 years ago and rewrote Starfire. They effectively changed her into a character who is there for sex appeal, whose sole differentiating characteristic is that she seems to be the girl that everyone has hooked up with. This is a complete departure from her previous appearances, and just one of the many hints that our culture is becoming over-sexualized, to such an extent that beloved children's characters are reduced to centerfold models and prostitutes. Girls dragged into the comic book world by the TV series, as I was, will watch their role model change before their eyes. This role model no longer promotes friendship and sincerity, but dressing scantily, acting sexy, and being thin. Girls who view over-sexualized women such as Starfire as their role models are opening themselves up to the 3 most common mental health problems found in girls and women, according to the American Psychological Association: low self-esteem, eating disorders, and depression. They go on to say that sexualization and objectification can lead to discomfort about one's own body, which in turn can lead to shame, anxiety, and self-disgust. This shame, caused by sexualization and objectification, has been found in girls 12 years old. My other little sister, who reads comic books like me, is 12 years old. I really don't want either of my little sisters to end up like the role models, but luckily, there are a lot of options out there. While it's essentially impossible to ban dolls, there's another solution. The American Girl dolls are a welcome alternative to Barbie and have realistic body proportions that actually look like the girls who play with them look like. Granted, they are a bit pricey, but they more than make up for the price we'll all have to pay for raising a generation of girls focused on looks. And if you can't get an American Girl doll, you can still take away their Barbie and give them a book. Not Twilight, but anything about proper role models for girls. This can include history books about Eleanor Roosevelt, Sojourner Truth, Joan of Arc, Queen Elizabeth I of England, who never married, and my own personal favorite, Marie Curie. History is a bit dull. Try fiction books such as Maximum Ride by James Patterson, or anything by Tamora Pierce, the author of books whose titles include Lady Night. But most times, a girl just has to open her eyes to see a woman who will be a proper role model for her: moms, aunts, and grandmothers. A grandmother might have been one of the many women who stepped up during World War II and took a job. A great-grandmother might have gone through Ellis Island. My own great-grandmother had stories about leaving Germany and immigrating to America. She wanted more opportunities for herself and her descendants. Did your grandmother have what it takes to be one of the most famous queens in history? You'll never know if you never ask. Traditionally, queens are viewed as the true power behind the throne, but not all modern-day queens are worthy of this great responsibility. The majority of female characters in popular culture discourage creativity and independence in girls and encourage negative stereotypes about women when we need to do the exact opposite. We must prove to the world that fictional female characters aren't all they're cracked up to be. In fact, some should be banished from the kingdom forever. So if you have any younger female relatives, tell them about the women who defied the expectations set for them by society. Get them to stop reading Twilight and start reading Maximum Ride. Take away their Barbie doll and give them an American Girl one. Tell them what their grandmother did during the war, that their great-grandmother was willing to immigrate. It'll take some work, but if we are afraid of a little work, we wouldn't be competing. Be ready and willing to turn today's princesses into tomorrow's queens.